We all know that I love creating passive income through rental properties, but did you know that you can create passive income through owning an e-commerce store? My company, Lunar Ecom, can build and manage a store for you on Amazon or Walmart. We'll handle everything from starting the store, picking the products, and all the day-to-day operations. It's completely passive for you. If you'd like to learn how store owners are making thousands a month in passive income, head over and watch the case study at lunarecom.com. It will explain everything you need to know about the industry and why I'm so excited about it. So to see the case study, head over to lunarecom.com. One of the hardest parts about real estate investing is finding a good contractor. That's where Southwestern Custom Construction comes in. They've been doing remodels in Nevada and Arizona since 2006. As a fully licensed and bonded general contractor, they're able to help with any type of renovation, all the way from an entry-level fixer-upper to a custom luxury home. Southwestern Custom Construction specializes in working with investors. I've personally used them on many of my projects, so I know their team is legit. If you want to get a bid on a project, head over to customhomenow.com. Once again, that's customhomenow.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about fear and how you can overcome it. And I'm actually going to give you my top 5 tips for how you can overcome it and, beat that analysis by paralysis that so many people get stuck in. So let's just jump into it. How do you break through the fear to start taking action? Well, step 1 is this. You need to accept that you're never going to know enough. And this, to me, is the one that I see is really prevalent in real estate investing and, people who've never done a deal, but, they've been researching forever, right? I get people who say they've watched all my YouTube videos for the last year or, they're big fans of the podcast and, all this stuff. And I say, okay, why haven't you done a deal yet? And typically they say, well, I want to research more, or I want to wait till I get licensed, or, I want to do XYZ. Once I do this, then I'll do it. And it's like, you need to realize you're never going to know enough, right? You're going to just learn as you go along. You're going to learn as you take action and encounter the problems along the way. And, if I had to go back in time, I wish I would have told myself this, because I was in the same boat. I felt like I didn't know enough, and so I didn't take enough action. And the reality is I finally knew enough once I took the action. Unfortunately, it just works like that. You learn by doing. And, there are too many people that, they just tell themselves these lies, which are saying, okay, once I do X, then I'll be able to. Once I finish this book, or once I finish this, I'll be able to do it. But it's like, no, you'll be able to do it once you actually take action. So accept that you'll never know enough. And that's in all aspects of life, because even as we talk about real estate investing, it's the same thing as you scale your business. You don't know how to do your first deal until you do it, right? And then you don't know how to do deal number 2 until you do it. You don't know how to handle 5 renovations at once until you go through it. You don't know how to flip 100 a year until you do it. I certainly didn't know these things. There was nothing that I could do to prepare me for the problems I encountered until I actually did it. Yeah, it's important to have coaches, and it's important to, have mentors and masterminds, and those things will help you get to those levels. No doubt. They will help you solve those problems when you get there, for sure. I've leaned on my coaches and mentors and, people at that level tremendously as I've gotten into those situations. But here's the deal. I pushed myself and took action to get in those situations first. I didn't just say, oh, okay, man, let me learn from this guy all I can. I'm not doing anything until I learn every little detail of the problem I'm going to encounter. No, that wasn't how it happened. It was let me learn what I need to know to get to 100, like just the very basic steps of it. Like, what are the most important steps I need to know to start getting there? Okay, great. I'm going to learn those, okay, because I need those. Now, I'm going to go do those, and once I get to these next set of problems as I'm going along, then I'll find out the information I need to solve these new problems. Great, I solved these problems. Now I'm going to the next stage. Crap, there's more new problems that I didn't I didn't even prepare for or know. Okay, now let me solve these. Let me go reach and get the answers to solve these from the people that I know. You see how that works? Like, I didn't know everything at the beginning. I figured it out as I went along. I asked the questions I needed to ask as I went along. And you're going to have to do that too. And you have to be comfortable knowing that you're going into the situation without all the answers. But that's okay. That's how it always goes, you know? You'll figure it out as you go along, especially if you're in the right programs, you have the right people, the right mentors who can help you along the way. Doesn't matter if it's real estate. That's just life in general, okay? The other thing is the world's changing so fast that information is constantly changing. And in fact, most people don't even know the answer because it's just not clear, right? Good example of this with real estate is, is it a good time to get into real estate investing? The market's so hot. Is it going to crash? What's happening with, COVID and the pandemic and all this stuff? It's like, nobody really knows the for sure answer of that, right? I've got my own opinion of how I think it's going to play out, and I'm going to go with my plan based on what I think. But at the end of the day, I don't know the answer. I don't have all the information. Does that mean that I do nothing? No. I'm going to still make a decision to proceed and take action, even though I don't know the answer. You never know the answer fully. You just won't, because the world's changing, like I said. And guess what? What if I'm wrong? That's a big thing people say. And that's what holds them back with fear, right? Being wrong. Well, I'm buying a lot of houses right now, and I am, anticipating the market staying hot and, continuing to go up, or at least stay at its current level. I don't anticipate it crashing, but let's just say it did. Well, that's a new problem I'm going to have to solve. There's going to be new information, and I'll make my decision when that point comes. Okay. I'll ask around, I'll ask mentors, I'll ask other people what they're doing, what their strategies will be, and I will adjust my strategy then. But I do not need to adjust it now because that hasn't happened, and it may never happen. Okay. So there's no point to try and plan for all these things that may or may not happen. Address the problems when they come. Go into it with, as much information as you can, but you will never have enough, okay? So that's tip number 1. Just accept. You're never going to know everything going into something, okay? You're going to learn along the way. Let's go into tip number 2. Tip number 2 is really good, and this is something we just kind of touched on in tip number 1, but in order to get over the fear of failure and start taking action, you should get an accountability partner or a coach. Most people need support from somebody else. Okay. There are very few people I know that just are very successful solo. Almost no one just figures it out on their own without any help. I'm not that way. I didn't figure it out on my own without any help. I've had mentors, I've had courses, I've had books, I've had a ton of resources and, mentors and accountability partners that have helped me get to where I'm at. And they're great because, number 1, I just needed that encouragement and support. That it's just like, if they've already been through it, it brings me comfort knowing that, hey, this person's already done this and I'm trying to do this. And if I got them in my corner, I got them, they got my back, I feel way more confident doing this now versus if I was by myself trying to do it. And that's honestly, if I had to pick a tip, it might be the most important because it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of speechless because it's just so true. I just thinking back in my life on everything, when I think about when I was playing baseball, when I had a coach that was there, that really encouraged me and helped me through problems and slumps and different things. The one who, already played in the big leagues and knew what it was like. They had that experience. Man, those coaches were great. And I've had my best games and, best seasons when I was around those coaches. And I just see even our students at Future Flipper, they do so much better when they're in the coaching program, especially when they have accountability coaches and other things, versus those who aren't in the program or even those who only take the course. Like our courses are great, I'm not going to lie, but having a coach is a totally different thing. Having somebody that can answer your questions when you're in trouble or can give you encouragement or, just share their experiences with you is a game changer in helping you get over fear. And I can just tell you it's done the same for me, and I've seen it so many times in other people. So, that's tip number 2. Get a coach, get an accountability partner, get somebody that's got experience in this and that's going to help you get to the next level. Don't have the blind leading the blind, all right? If your buddy's never done what you want to do and you think that they're going to be the ones to see you through it, I mean, they might, but good luck. I can tell you, I don't want somebody in my corner who's never done what I want to do. They're not, to me, much help other than being a cheerleader. I want somebody that is going to actually help me get there and help me solve the problems that I know I'm going to encounter. So, get somebody with experience for the accountability partner or coach. Let's go into tip number 3. Here's a quick word from our sponsors. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. How often have you driven around and seen houses that were in rough shape? If you're a real estate investor, you know those are the best deals. With Batch Driven, you're now able to capitalize on those homes. You can mark the home, get owner information, and send them a mailer or a text right from the app. And there are other great features like lead management, MLS data, and real-time driving routes. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchdriven.com/Ryan. Once again, that's batchdriven.com/Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. Tip number 3 is this. When you're going through fear, you want to think about the upside, let that motivate you, but also become comfortable with the downside. So, kind of long tip. Think about the upside, be comfortable with the downside. So, to give you an example, when I first started flipping houses, right, I had to max out my credit cards to do it. And, obviously there's a lot of risk with that, right? But I'll tell you what, even though I had no experience flipping, okay, and I was taking a very big risk maxing out my credit cards, I thought about the upside. And I said, man, if this flip works out, and I'm pretty confident it's gonna, and if it does, I'm gonna make, $20,000, $25,000. This is gonna be life-changing, okay? At that point, I never, did anything like that. Like, this is gonna be extremely life-changing. And if I can prove to myself I can do this once, I know that I'll be able to do it twice, 3 times. And I'd be lying to you if I said that I thought I'd do it hundreds of times like I have now. But just at that moment, when I was first starting, I just figured, man, if I could just do this a few times a year, that's a great income, and that's life-changing. So the upside to me was what pushed me to do it and pushed me through, because I was focused on that. But even then, right, I was still, you still have to be realistic with yourself. You don't want to just be this guy who ignores all risk and only focuses on the upside. I still thought about the upside or the downside as well. And I said, you know what? What's the downside here? Maybe it doesn't go as planned and I make $10,000. Would I be okay with that? Absolutely. What if it goes even worse and I break even? Well, even if I broke even, I'd be very happy that I just did a deal and that I learned from it. Like, I'd be super okay with breaking even. What if, it just goes really bad and I lose money? I lose $10,000 or something. Well, obviously that sucks and it's a costly lesson, but, it just is what it is. I would have to deal with it, and I'd have been okay with that, because the the upside, which I felt was very likely, far outweighed the potential risk of breaking even or losing. I felt like the risk was very low that I was going to lose. And I was right. It made $25,000 on that first flip. And, I think most people, they do the opposite. They focus on what could go wrong first. They're like, oh man, I could lose $10,000. I could lose even more. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it's like, dude, think about the upside. Think about what could go right. If you're already going to this from the pessimistic perspective of what can go wrong, man, you're not going to take much action on anything in life. So that's why I say with this tip, think about the upside, but also be okay with the downside. Don't ignore it completely, but don't let it consume you. Don't let the downside be the priority. The upside is why you're doing this. And one thing to think about too, most people are not living a life that, they want to live, right? A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're in debt. They're not doing a job they want. And so the reality is, what have you got to lose at that point? The upside is so tremendous that if you just take the risk and you do it, it's going to work out. If you believe it, whether you make money or not, as long as you go into that believing that it's going to work out, you're going to have learned a lot, whether you lost money or you made money. And it's going to help you for the next time. Okay. So to me, just taking action is the win, regardless of what the result ends up being. But even if the result isn't what you wanted, even if, you lost money on it, whatever that was, whether it was a business, an investment, or, anything, your life is probably not much different than what it is today because you're still not where you want to be. And you should feel better about knowing that you took a chance on yourself and you took a chance at changing your life versus what most people do, which is playing it safe, even with a life they don't like, right? Why would you play it safe to maintain the life you don't like? It makes no sense. But yet most people do that. So remember, think about that upside. If this can help get you out of it, it's worth taking the chance. And if things don't even go your way, it's not like you really had that much to lose because you're still kind of in the same boat. Yeah, you might be in a little worse position, but it's not really much different at the end of the day. So think about that. Let's jump into tip number 4. So tip number 4 is this. Remember, life is short. It's a really easy tip, but it's something that people don't think about. Like, life is short. I kind of talk about my faith a lot on the podcast, more so than my TikToks or my main YouTube channel and stuff. But, my faith, my Christian faith helps me keep this in mind. Like, at the end of the day, right, life is really short. I believe there's an eternity. I believe that heaven and everything else after this life is far longer than this life. Like the Bible tells us, like, this life is like but a mist. It's like vapor. Like, it's so short compared to what else there is. And so for me, I just keep that in perspective. And it helps me just realize, man, like, these things I'm scared or worried about or this fear I have, why? I have such a short amount of time in this life to really live it to the fullest and to make a difference and to, do things. So it's like, man, if time is the only limited resource I have, what do I do to maximize it, to really propel myself, to take the most, chances at just, I don't know, changing the world or changing my family or, impacting the people around me. Like, that's my opinion on it. And, even if you don't have faith, just remember that life is short still. Even if you think this is the only, you're born and then you die and that's it. Even if you think that, life is short. Go talk to any old person you know. They'll all tell you the same thing. They'll say, man, it was like I blinked and, life was already like so many years past. And that's just how it is. And, If you even look back at your life a few years ago, right? Problems you had a few years ago, that you were stressing about, that you were fearful about, that you're worried about, they're not really that big of a deal anymore, right? I know for me that's the case. Big issues that I had years ago, today, it's like, I got through it. I'm still here, right? It wasn't that big of a deal, even though it was at the time. And I like to remember that when I think about things that scare me today. I'm like, man, this is it sucks, but do I think that I'm going to be worried about this a year from now or even a month from now? Probably not. So, why am I worrying about it now? Like, I know it'll get fixed. It'll get resolved one way or the other. So, that's just how it is. Life's short. So I suggest you take a risk. For me, when I look at my life down the road and I think about, what I did with it, I will have more regret saying that, man, I wish I would have tried this back then. I wish I would have taken this risk. Like, that is what I don't want. And I think a lot of people have that later on in life. They say, man, I wish I would have just tried that opportunity. I wish I would have did this. And I don't want that. I don't ever want to wish I would have did something. I would rather take action today and fail and live knowing that I failed and tried. That to me brings me more peace and more joy, knowing that I at least attempted this. And you know what? I failed. It didn't work out, but I don't ever have to wonder what if. Wondering what if is the biggest fear of my entire life. You guys can write that one down, because maybe I'll get a shirt made of it. Like, we're never going to say what if. We're just going to do it and live with the results. And I can live a full life knowing, you know what? I tried everything that I could. I made the most of my life. I succeeded at some things. I failed at many others. But there's no what if in my life. I lived it to the fullest. So remember, life's short. But lastly, let's jump into tip number 5. Tip number 5 kind of goes with tip number 4. But, tip number 5 is this. In order to get over fear, you've got to grow your faith. And, when you hear the word faith, as I've been talking about with being a Christian, right? My faith comes from God, and, I'm always trying to grow my faith that way. But as I said, if you're not a Christian and, you don't have any kind of background like that, you still have to grow your faith in what you're doing. And I'll tell you, kind of my definition of faith is this. It's confidence in the unseen, right? Because it wouldn't be faith if you could see it and you knew for sure it was going to work. Like, that doesn't require faith. What faith is needed if you know it's going to work out and you could see it right there, right? Faith requires confidence in the unseen. And so for you, you're going to have to learn that most new things you do, actually all new things you do, because they're new by definition, they're new, you cannot see what's going to happen. Okay? You have to have faith that it's going to work out. And that faith is going to put you over the fear, right? Most people let fear take over, and so they say, nah, I can't do it. It's just too much fear. But if they just had more faith than fear, they could do it because they believe that it's going to work out despite not knowing for sure, despite all the unanswered questions, despite not being able to actually see that, yeah, it's working. You got to build your faith. That is the only way to succeed. And I'll tell you, for me, I'm constantly trying new things. I'm constantly trying to grow. And every single time I do that, it is faith. That, hey, whatever it is I'm about to do, I've never done it before. I don't know for sure it's going to work, but I'm going to still try because I have faith that it will. And, faith grows over time. My faith in God has grown over time, but also my faith in my own abilities has grown over time. As I do more things that are successful, my faith grows that, hey, this next thing's going to be successful. And I think that'll happen for you too. You know, it starts with small wins. Hey, look, I flipped my first house. This is great. Like, I have confidence and faith that I can do number 2 and have success, and then 4, and then 10, and then 20, and then 100. That's how it goes. Nobody just walks into 0 with, this blind faith that, I could do 100 like right now. It's like, no, baby steps, one step at a time, and that's how I've lived my life. I don't know where my life is going and what the next big plays are, but I have faith that whatever the first, this next step is in my life, I'm going to do it. Doesn't need to be this crazy big step. But by taking a bunch of small steps, my faith grows, and in turn, all those small steps lead to big things. Okay. So you're going to have to grow your faith in order to get over the fear. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you want me to do another one like this, definitely comment below. Let me know which tip really spoke to you if you're watching on YouTube. And, if you haven't already and you're on Apple Podcasts, it would mean the world to me if you could subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Helps the algorithm out, gives me encouragement, and gives me more faith that I should keep making these podcasts and, that they're really helping people. So please do that, and catch you on the next one. Take care. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.